and if you are an actress, you have to feel and understand the feelings of the character. I want to know and feel how it's possible to get into another personality that is not my own, how they can make the difference between their own life and the character's life. When I watch movies that were made in Brazil, I always pay attention in the person that plays the character. In my opinion, they don't have a good training of how to act because the way they act is not natural. They overact sometimes. That is why I prefer the act.
Welcome to Happiness in the City. This is Barbara, and today I'd like to focus on a concept of office. As you have seen, those who have been watching my show, I decided to bring our attention to meaning of words because words are used in everyday conversations, in political discussions, and now very intensely on social media. And sometimes people do not pay attention to the complexity of meaning of certain words and start fights over things that really need clarification through um, philosophical and philological way, and for people to come to agreement on diversity of meanings in different words so that they can continue their relationships on social media without being called hostile or uncooperative or somehow unable to fit in the topic of general speech. And we have to pay attention to the nature of speech before we jump to conclusion and create actions on what is simply part of natural way of speech development and speech interaction. The reason that I wanted us to think about the term office is because often it's the authority of an office somewhere, that is used to clamp on someone's opinions or just completely cut out certain words from usage. And that is a very strange way to deal with logos, speech. Speech, of course, at the highest level is God Himself. At the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Those who read the Bible know there is a way in which people who believe in Jesus Christ of Nazareth often call Him living Logos, living Word of God. So we are entering an understanding of speech and Logos in a very sophisticated way. And of course, what is that destroys Logos, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, on the cross? It's office of Pontius Pilate. Though Pontius Pilate himself didn't want to do it, he was under influence of great philosophers of Roman and Greek heritage, of great admirer of the right way of doing things, and yet his office is being used to commit this horrible crime of killing Logos, Jesus Christ Himself. So we have to have this sophisticated understanding of the relationship between an office and the word Logos. Of course, let's start with dictionary definitions. And here is a dictionary. There are many of them on Google. This one has two definitions. It's from Oxford. The first one refers to the physicality of an office. It's a room or set of rooms or building used as a place for commercial, professional, or bureaucratic work, an office job, workplace. So the first one refers to physical space in which that work related to office takes place. And the synonyms here is place of business, place of work, workplace, workroom, studio, headquarters, base, center. It was only a few minutes walk to her office in Aldersgate Street. So it's a certain space in a building that is focused on the so-called office work. And we have to understand that it's very important to know that that would be the space that deals with organizational matters, with rule making, and is using words to issue orders or regulations or rules. Now, the word outside an office doesn't have that limitation and that power. And what we need to learn is how to harmonize office with words that describe its work and words outside of an office. So this is just a general definition. We have to understand that because if words that are contained within an office are used to destroy everything that is outside of an office, we have total lack of liberty, life in pursuit of happiness. And as I've said many times, that those three rights, right to life, right to liberty, and right to pursuit of happiness, are defining foundational rights of the United States of America. Everything else, even Constitution itself, cannot be used to destroy those three fundamental rights, because rights are higher than laws. And the way the offices work today is they are trying to eliminate the rights, and they are doing it by destroying a lot of speech outside of an office context. And in this particular sense, I use office generally because that limitation, that office limitation, comes not only from bureaucratic institutional offices, but many other offices, private corporations too. And we feel that there is something happening that is not right, but this is what is really happening, is that conflict between the rule of right and the rule of law. And I encourage you to study foundations of American political philosophy, because you will learn those things. I didn't just make those things up. I took many courses at Harvard University on those topics. Even they let me audit many courses at Harvard Law School, so I paid attention to this because I wanted to know that safety net between laws that depend on limited will of people who want to promote their agendas versus the general right of the entire Commonwealth, the entire population. It's very important for us to know that, because we are in the United States of America, and the United States of America is based on that distinction between right and laws. And somehow today in speech in offices of the government and corporations and nonprofits and all kinds of other types that deal with this situation of control, they chose to ignore it. And that is not right, because it actually undermines the very foundation of America. Because one of the most attractive aspects of America is that safety net, ultimate security, that there are certain things so fundamental, like right to life, right to liberty, right to pursuit of happiness, that no government, no office, no rule and regulation can undermine those. That's what made America great, and that is what we need to continue. And we have to also deal with this situation which the places that define the nature of law chose to ignore the nature of right. And now there is this push, oh, everything is by rule of law, nobody's above the law. But this is not about the law, it's about the right and relationship between the right and the law. So we have to come back to the foundations of America's greatness by coming back to teaching those who work in offices the importance of learning and developing the understanding and the content of those three rights: right to life, right to liberty, and right to pursuit of happiness. I'll give you an example. If, for instance, you have right to liberty, and somebody comes with a law that says, no, you don't have a right to liberty, we can do anything we want, we can create a law that accuses you of something, that breaks that law, and take over your house. Okay? Yeah, those people created law, but that law in itself is a sin. It's a crime. And the reason Americans who are founding the United States of America wanted to have certainty that laws will not undermine those basic foundational rights. And where does the notion of right come from? It's a very complicated concept in the context of relationship between authority and population, and it comes from understanding that the basic function of a leader is to create beautiful happiness and peace in the land. When you read the Bible, you will see passages about heart of a king, and heart of a king is filled by God Himself with happiness to make people happy, so that they eat, drink, are happy, enjoy every day of their lives, and don't go through unnecessary strifes and penalties and punishments. Now, we have situations where there are offices that create so-called laws, not to make people happy, but to pull money from them, to fine them for something. There are so many beautiful companies that are doing tremendous jobs, that they should be praised and given great rewards, and some little, squirrels from some office come in with papers that they have to pay fine for this, that. That is only violation of some sinful law, but is completely in alignment with the right to pursuit of happiness. So the law itself that would create such unhappiness and strife and trauma is a problem. And the way we can restore peace in the United States of America and be a good example for other nations is to restore that right relationship that office representing power and authority has in respect to the concepts of right and law. In other words, laws cannot be created that undermine right to life, right to liberty, and right to pursuit of happiness. And right there, when we will have beautiful laws, I would say 95% of trauma and violence and those very dangerous events that have been taking place recently would stop. I was shaken by the event recently, and I won't give you the details, you read the news, you know, but just generally philosophically. One person was so terrified of a law enforcement officer that he pulled up a gun and shot a whole bunch of people. He was terrified of somebody representing the office of law. And I was shaken by that. I said, this is it. This is the key that we have to untangle in order to free the whole nation from that fear of the law. Because the law is supposed to provide sense of security and safety. But it won't provide sense of security and safety if we create laws that violate right to life, violate right to liberty, and violate right to pursuit of happiness. So the problem is not the gun's usage in a criminal way. That's a symptom. That's a symptom of something that is a problem with the relationship between office of authority and speech that is supposed to create security and safety in life, liberty, and happiness, and instead created fear that in some people leads to madness. That's not right. So in this particular definition, the second part of this definition of office is a position of authority or service, typically one of public nature, like the office of Attorney General. Synonyms would be post, position, appointment, job, day job, occupation, role, place, situation, station, function, capacity. A sentence example here is he assumed the office of president on May 20th. So you see the relationship between an office and position of authority connected to the office and often created to make that authority visible. So that's another function of an office, is visibility of a position of authority. And we have to rethink how we have that connection between office, authority, and those who are within those offices and authority. When we have clarity in our minds about the beauty that can be created between authority in an office authority, and people who are connected to it, then we can have peaceful conversation about ways to make people happy. Because I still believe in a very old-fashioned way that the main function of national leader is to promote happiness, to make people happy. And that is one of my standards. Now, this concept of happiness is never even used. Have you ever heard it, like from Supreme Court or Congress or Office of a President? Like, I am the President of the United States of America. I want to make you happy, all of you. Have you heard it? But that's how it should be. It should be that the office representing leadership and administration of a nation should, as a first function, have that purpose to promote happiness. And when you promote happiness, people start associating those kinds of offices with joy, with trust, and with a certain reciprocity of gratitude. So in a situation which the leaders of a nation promote joy and happiness for all, that tragic event that created that conflict between a citizen and law enforcement officer would have never happened. The person would have showed the driver's license, maybe said, ha ha ha, you're just such an awesome police officer. Here it is. I hope I didn't, I hope everything is okay. So we have to see the relationship between the nature of an office, nature of authority connected to an office, and the words being used from those offices to connect to those who are supposed to relate to what those offices are ordering or allowing. Sometimes it's allowing, sometimes it's ordering, regulating. So we have to create peace in this situation. And it will not happen if we don't come back to the foundational ways in which America was created. And that was on that powerful belief and trust that we have to have rights that are higher than laws. So that laws do not eliminate things that are irreplaceable, like that laws will not promote destruction of life. We have to come back to a very intelligent way in which we look at certain orders issued by governmental offices or corporate offices or other kinds of offices. There is avalanche of words in the whole nation, and they created a certain sense of overwhelming paralysis, and that is not a good thing. And in many ways they create lawlessness. Not they try to create law, but they actually create lawlessness and despair and fear. So at the highest level, the rights should be under the spirit of God's love, so that hate doesn't come in there as a foundation, because love can deal with hate, but hate, by nature of hate, will always try to eliminate love. And then from that foundation of loving rights, when we come to creation of laws, we can create very well-organized laws that promote peace and that help people enjoy their everyday lives without fear of penalties and punishments. That spirit of fear, that's not what God gave us. God gave us spirit of love, spirit of power, and spirit of sound mind. So, in conclusion, I wanted us to continue reflecting on the concept of office. I encourage you to read a very extensive article in Wikipedia on that topic, office. I will come back to this concept in one of my future shows, because today is just a start on that very important topic. And I want you to know that the situation of America is not hopeless. We have great traditions, we have incredibly educated population, we have great universities. What we don't have is, we don't have the vision of love that would connect us physically in spirit of nobility, virtue, and mutual respect. That's what we need to ask God to give us, because once we have that, you will almost instinctively want leaders to promote general happiness, not strife and pain. And when we return to the beauty of original America, we'll instinctively be attracted to this, and we want it, because that is what makes our lives beautiful, noble, good, and filled with joy and happiness. Thank you so much, and I